cents would come back to the state. So the fact that we're arguing about who gets a bailout and who doesn't get a bailout, it's kind of amusing to me, because the reality is we are a state that loses money every single time an individual pays $1 in federal income tax. If we want to get the government started again, and we want to get people spending again, we need to actually stop paying taxes at the level that we are today. And to do that, we need to cut spending first, because you can't continue to cut taxes if you're not willing to cut spending. And then we need to get government out of the way of businesses so businesses can start again. And
Jimmy, if I can just quickly respond to that, because I'm a student of history too, and I've talked to a lot of folks in the financial area, many of whom agree that we didn't have enough regulation on Wall Street, that Washington didn't do its job, and that this particular crisis, with all of these predatory lending, securitization of loans, we're without a playbook. We were without a playbook last year, and most people agree that without some kind of bailout, whether, and I think it should have had strings attached clearly, but without some kind of bailout and the need to get stimulus money out there, we would have been in a depression worse than the Great Depression.
So very, very quickly, sorry, Scott, I think what's important here is there is a playbook. You need to look at history, and you have to look at what President Harding did during the early 20s. He dealt with a recession that was more dramatic than what we have today, that was more dramatic than the Great Depression, and he pulled us out as a country, and he did it in a year. So look at what he did. He cut spending.
Well, except you also know what followed that, and we
right. I do know what followed that, but he delayed it for years.
Mr. Brown,
sorry for a question. We're in a situation right now where we have a beer tax, meal tax, sales tax, hotel tax. We're looking at we just did a sales tax. We have so many taxes here in Massachusetts. We've gone from almost a $3 billion structural surplus to almost being broke. We've had 3 speakers being indicted. We have 3 senators resigning in disgrace. There's a lack of trust on Beacon Hill. There's also a lack of trust in Washington by the backroom deals with the health care proposal, with the proposal on cap and trade, with the potential war tax, with the expiring tax cuts, the marriage penalties coming back, the dividends that you pay, those are going to be taxed higher. And these are where the differences are. This is where people need to do their research, and they need to look at who is going down to Washington to do what. Now, I've been proposing, for example, the expiring tax cuts. Those are tax cuts that Martha wants to expire. She wants the marriage penalty to come back. She's also in favor of the capital gains rising, because those are the things that naturally will happen. And if you take the entire package of the items that she's talked about during her debates and thereafter, $2.1 trillion of additional taxation pursuant to the Congressional Budget Office, nothing that we've been out for quite a while. No one's really refuted them. And I can do better. We can go down there and hold the line. We can go back to the drawing board on the health care bill. As the 41st Senator, I can tell them to do better and try again and get it something like we have here in Massachusetts.
Very specific named
sure.
criticisms there. I know you want to mention.
And Scott said this time and time again, and I say the same thing because he's wrong, and he pulls numbers out of nowhere that he can't support. And what Scott is saying is that he supports the status quo. Let's maintain what we have. Let's pretend that we don't have an economic recession, that we don't need health care reform, that we don't have a climate change issue, and everything will right itself. And he ignores completely how we got where we are. I know that because I've been working as Attorney General very efficiently, I might say, as a fiscally responsible steward of that office, bringing back $5 for every dollar I get in tax dollars, bringing back over $1 billion to the Commonwealth and people in the Commonwealth for fraud, for abuse, from predatory lenders, from Wall Street. And so we need to address those issues. I agree with that. And I agree that we need to give relief to the middle class. And the only tax I've talked about is that we have supported the most wealthy in the country who got a benefit from the Bush tax increase, and that increase of the top 2% of the country is one that should expire. But I said specifically and time again that I think that the middle class is being squeezed, that we need a health care and a tax policy that will help us get there. And to say that the status quo is what, so that's really what you're saying. The status quo is okay, I don't want to change anything.
Well, if I could just take a moment.
Real brief thing, then we will move on.
Well, all due respect, there's no one I think in your listening audience that thinks Martha is a tax cutter. Since I've been on in the State House, I've never voted for a tax increase while in elective office. I've continuously fought for the small businesses in this area. And to say that I'm in the status quo, I think is disingenuous at best, because the proposals that you're talking about, these are things that you said during the debates, so they didn't come out of left field. We're not making them up. And to just target the middle class tax, tax cuts, everybody needs a tax cut. A JFK across-the-board tax cut to stimulate jobs and create business revenue that will come back into the kitty and ultimately lift up the economy. And we have very clear differences as to how to get to do that. To support a cap and trade.
I don't mind discussing the differences, but I just want to be accurate. You're entitled to your opinion and your theories, but not your own facts, Scott.
Martha, these are things that you've talked about since.
But we're here today talking about them, and I'm telling you you're wrong. And I'm telling you that I support tax policies, as I said, consistently for the middle class. So let's talk about what the real differences are.
Okay, I think we'll probably get to more and more of that as we go on. Let's go to another issue, which is certainly going to take us a few minutes, healthcare. It appears now there will be some sort of final vote sometime in mid-February, perhaps sooner. Our new senator will be voting on that. There appears to be no question about that on the healthcare reform. We don't know yet what's going to be in the final plan. Let me ask you, and this will go first to Ms. Coakley, what needs to be in there? What will you not vote for if it's in there? What do you need to see in the final healthcare package to give it your vote briefly?
I said I support what the Senate proposal is. I don't love some of it, but I think that in general it provides for the two goals we need in healthcare, which is to get people covered, which we've done already in Massachusetts. I know Scott agrees with that. And that we need to address the costs, which we haven't done yet in Massachusetts, but we have some ways to do that in looking at administrative costs, the way we do reimbursements, the way we pay global settlements, for instance. And the thing that everybody has to remember is this. We cannot afford the status quo in healthcare. The costs are rising 8 to 10% every year. It's unsustainable at the government level, at the private sector level, at the not-for-profit level. And so I think we need more transparency and competition. I've said that throughout this race. I don't think the bill gets there yet, but I think it lays a very good platform to say, let's move forward in a way that's consistent with what Massachusetts needs and where we go to keep costs down in the country. And I will say that for the last 3 years, as head of not-for-profits, starting a healthcare division, I've worked really closely with what's happening in Massachusetts. I know what some of the mistakes are that we've made, and I know where we need to go to get costs down. And if we don't do that, people now are not going to be able to get the kind of health care choices and the health care that they want.
Mr. Brown, you've said you're against what you've seen so far. Is that the way you see it coming out? No chance of your voting for it?
Well, yes, and thanks for the question. The health care plan is not good for Bay State Health Center here in this area, and as well as for Massachusetts. I worked on the health care bill. I helped write it. I have played a role in it. It was passed unanimously in a bipartisan manner, including with Senator Kennedy. And the problem with it is that we already have 98% of our people insured. And we also knew and have known that we need to look at pricing because it is getting a little bit out of control. But if you look at the national plan, taking $500 billion from Medicare, if you're a veteran, they're looking at affecting your TRICARE coverage as well. And if you look at the longer lines, lesser care, and we're already doing it here, why would we in fact go and subsidize the other states for their failure to do what we've already done? It makes no sense to